Good to have you with us on this Sunday evening. I'm Daniel Choy for Arirang News. Japan expressed its outrage over the apparent death of a citizen held by the Islamic State following the release of a video earlier today. The militants now appear to have changed tactics after their ransom demand expired and are now seeking to swap the other Japanese captive for an Iraqi prisoner. Our Kim Min-ji starts us off.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has condemned the apparent murder of a Japanese captive by Islamic State militants as outrageous and demanded the remaining hostage be freed. This comes after the release of a video late Saturday with the voice of a man claiming to be hostage Kenji Goto, saying that his fellow captive Haruna Yukawa was beheaded. The man also says his life could be saved in exchange for the release of Sajida al-Lishawi, an Iraqi held in Jordan for an attempted suicide bombing.
I would like to stress how easy it is to save my life. You bring them their sister from the Jordanian regime and I will be released immediately.
Speaking to Japanese state broadcaster NHK on Sunday, Abe said it is likely the video is real, but reiterated that Japan would not give in to terrorism. He said the Japanese government is doing its best to have Goto released, based on the assumption that he is still alive. Abe also said he had spoken to Jordan's King Abdullah about the situation, but did not comment on the Islamic State demand for the release of the Iraqi prisoner. The video follows another one released earlier this week, in which the extremist group demanded $200 million within 72 hours in exchange for the lives of the Japanese captives. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories, North Korea has warned that South Korea could be facing severe consequences if Seoul keeps challenging Pyongyang's approach to better inter-Korean ties. Pyongyang says its forward-looking approach aims to achieve a paradigm shift in inter-Korean relations. Our Park Ji-won tells us more.
North Korea is sending more mixed messages. The National Defense Commission on Sunday warned the South Korean government not to distort or criticize Pyongyang for its approach towards improved inter-Korean relations. It added South Korea could face severe consequences if it continues to challenge North Korea's forward-looking approach, which it said is aimed at strengthening ethnic ties in inter-Korean relations. Pyongyang also criticized the South for allowing civic groups to send anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border and going ahead with an annual joint military exercise with the U.S. this spring. Pyongyang also characterized Seoul's proposals for dialogue and reunions for war-separate families as rhetoric lacking in sincerity. However, up until Saturday, North Korea's state-run Nodong Sinmun newspaper has emphasized inter-Korean dialogue and negotiations. Earlier this week, the North has said, as this year marks the 70th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule, the two Koreas have a duty to use it as an opportunity to boost their relations. Regarding the North's hot and cold approach, experts say Pyongyang is hoping to press Seoul to change its North Korea policies. They add the confrontation will continue until the U.S.-South Korea joint military exercises set for March. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, South Korea's side says it is willing and eager to revive the Mount Kumgang tour program, extending an olive branch to Pyongyang, which hasn't responded to Seoul's recent proposal for talks. Seoul's Unification Minister Ryu Gil-jae said Sunday in an interview with Yonhap News Agency, all pending issues, including the Mount Kumgang tour project, can be discussed and urged the regime to return to the bargaining table. He said first and foremost, they must address the reason for the tour's suspension, the shooting of a South Korean tourist by a North Korean soldier back in 2008. The tour program is a major source of revenue for the North, but its resumption would violate UN sanctions on Pyongyang. Still, Ryu says he is cautiously optimistic about the prospects for resumption of the project and inter-Korean talks. Police have tightened security around the presidential office of Cheongwade in the wake of a bomb threat made by an anonymous caller. Police said the man dialed the Civil Affairs Office 5 times since 2:39 a.m. this Sunday morning. On one of the calls, he said, quote-unquote, "I would bomb the office by noon if you don't show willingness," and it was unclear what he meant by willingness. No explosive devices have been found so far. The caller ID showed the country code of France, and police are tracing the number. Anti-terrorism officials say the man could be the same person who tweeted threats to bomb the private homes of President Park Geun-hye and her chief of staff Kim Gi-chun on January 17th. The Twitter account belongs to a South Korean man in his 20s who lives in France. Police in Seoul say they may ask to have the man extradited. The Korean government is hoping for progress on a tax revision plan that would raise residential and automobile taxes. That's according to the Minister of Government Administration and Home Affairs, Chung Jong-sub. In an interview with Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency on Sunday, Chung said the tax reform plan is aimed at easing the burden on local governments facing financial difficulties. The proposed tax law revision is currently pending in Parliament after it was rejected by the opposition. Chung added the government is also seeking to impose a leisure tax on the gambling industry. Public anger over a new policy that raises income tax rates has propelled the government to action. The government says it has been in discussions with the ruling party on ways to amend the tax code, including plans to expand tax rebates for multiple child and single-person households, new tax credits to encourage people to have children, and a hike in tax credit for pension investments. The government is also seeking to raise the tax credit for education and medical spending. The Korea Taxpayers Association launched a petition to campaign against the proposed changes to the new tax policy. Korea is expected to fall short of its tax revenue target again this year, though. Moving on to other stories outside of Korea, rockets struck homes and a market in the port city of Mariupol in eastern Ukraine on Saturday, killing at least 30 people and leaving 83 others injured. The city said the rockets were long-range Grad missiles fired by pro-Russian separatists. Alexander Zakachenko, a leader of the Russian-backed rebels, said the assault on Mariupol, a strongly pro-Ukrainian city, was to avenge the deaths in the war in Donetsk. The rebel forces, armed with new tanks and other heavy weapons believed to be supplied by Russia, captured the ruins of the Donetsk airport in recent days. Their leaders openly say they are now on the offensive, the latest indication that the war has flared up again in eastern Ukraine. A dispute between Korea and Japan over an old relic is straining cultural exchanges between the neighboring countries. With many events celebrating the 50th anniversary of Korea-Japan ties being cancelled, the next question is about the lasting effect this will have on the bilateral relationship. Our Shin Se-min has this report.
This statue of Buddha was made in Korea in the 1330s. Now it's at the center of a debate that may have strained the only well-established channel for exchange between Korea and Japan: culture. At some point, the statue ended up in Japan before it was found again in Korea and held by the Korean Customs Service. During a trilateral cultural exchange late last November, Japanese Culture Minister urged his Korean counterpart to return the statue, claiming it belonged to Japan.
Japan is accusing us of immoral insensitivity, but they're the ones who took the artifact in the first place.
Shaky relations between the neighboring countries have also forced a closure of other events, including the Korea-Japan Picture exhibition, which was scheduled for this October at the National Museum of Korea. But when the Japanese government downsized the scale of the exhibition, Korea decided to cancel. The Korean Museum will now host a Korea-Japan culinary exchange exhibition instead. That's not all. The lingering animosity has affected other fields as well. The Academy of Korean Studies decided to scrap a plan to hold a symposium aimed at improving diplomatic relations between the two countries. And the Northeast Asian History Foundation decided to change an exhibition on diplomatic ties into an event commemorating the 70th anniversary of the nation's independence in August. Performing arts events are also shifting away from Korea-Japan related historical themes. Observers worry that this sequence of events, if allowed to continue, could further strain ties between the two neighboring countries. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
In contrast to that, a seal stolen from Korea more than 60 years ago will finally be returned next month. It is currently in Washington with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and will be returned via the Korean Embassy in the U.S. The seal, which belonged to Queen Munjong, who ruled in the 16th century, is one of many cultural assets illegally removed from Korea by an American soldier who served in the Korean War. In 2013, U.S. Customs authorities seized the assets from the deceased U.S. Marine lieutenant's family. 9 ancient Korean seals were returned last year. And now the weather. Expect up to 10 millimeters of rain in Seoul and the central areas of Korea in the morning, and a light drizzle is expected to continue through the day and in the early parts of the week. The mercury will stay above zero in most parts of the nation on Monday, with Seoul at 3, 6 in Jeonju and 8 in Busan. And now let's check out the weather conditions outside of Korea in your neck of the woods and around the world. And that's all from us for now. We'll have more updates for you at 10 p.m. Korea time, so do join us then for more. For now, thank you for watching.